everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am Jen, and this is Fundie Fridays, and here on my channel I talk about different aspects of Christian fundamentalism, American conservative politics, pop culture, and gay stuff. And yes, I did get a haircut. I love it. My curls are back. New year, new me. And today we are going to be discussing all of the crazy shit that went down in 2025.
It's been 84 years.
With a hard emphasis on things that happened in the evangelical and Christian and fundamentalist world. Because we are going to be talking about some Mormon stuff, so just giving you a heads up. I do consider them a side quest of Christianity. So we're going to talk about all the people that died, and then we're also going to talk about some honorable mentions and some dishonorable mentions, and then I have a top 10 countdown for you guys. We're doing it millennial style, okay? We're doing a listicle. I've been very distracted this year, and so finally we get to catch up on the things that have happened. And for some reason, a lot of things happened in November. That's a trend that we're going to see today, and I hope my jingle bells aren't too distracting. They're already kind of distracting me right now, but that's my journey to deal with. This has been a crazy year for fundies. To be fair, it's kind of been a crazy year for everyone else too. And in my personal life, you all know, it's been quite the journey, to use that word again. I think it's a perfectly good word. James, had cancer, went through chemo, and beat said cancer. I met some of my YouTube heroes. I also made some of my best work, if I do say so myself. Also, Charlie Kirk got shot? Seriously, what the fuck is this year? It's just been surreal. And hopefully today's episode will help us parse through some of the crazy things that happened this year, make some sense of it, and rank them, because, you know, love a good ranking. And we've got quite a few things to cover, and hopefully you all enjoy it. I tried to be funny, but also serious, as is kind of the theme of the channel. But before we dive into all that, a word from our sponsor, Bellesa. Ho 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 and Merry Vibemas. I'm Reverend Claus here, partnering with my friends at Bellesa to bring you free gift cards and free toys if you sign up in my description box below. Bellesa is a bi-women company for all things sexual wellness. Their mission is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. Bellesa toys make for great gifts or something cheeky for yourself. I love Bellesa toys because they are discreet and they charge in their case, which I can't tell you how convenient that is, especially if you're on the go. They are high quality, they're soft, they're just all around amazing. Some of my favorites include the Air Vibe. The Air Vibe also features dual stimulation with and sensations. It's waterproof and rechargeable, and it comes in discreet casing. It looks like a little makeup compact. The Pebble, a classic. The Pebble features suction and vibration controlled independently. It's ergonomically built to fit perfectly in your hand, so no more hand cramps, and no annoying pattern modes, because the vibration should not be in Morse code, if you know what I mean. Or the Thump. The Thump is something that I've never seen before, but I'm very excited to show you all. It does it all. It vibrates, it suctions, and it thumps. And it features Bellesa's improved pleasure jet technology. That's right, no Fundie private jets here. This jet technology is for everyone. It also features true feel vibrations, which naturally complement the suction at the targeted base. And innovative thump technology for natural clitoral palpitations on the back of the pop grip. So if you'd like to make your holidays merry and bright, go ahead and click on the link in my description below. Everyone who signs up will get free gift cards or free toys. Thank you to Bellesa for sponsoring this video. Now back to the show. Gee, I sure wouldn't mind Reverend Claus sliding down my chimney, bringing me a sack full of toys. But in more serious news, we did lose quite a few godly Christian soldiers this year, and since I'm not the authority on whether or not somebody gets to heaven or hell,
I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound.
I decided to use a nice neutral green background.
I just heard. I just heard. I came as soon as I wanted to.
Now, this is going to be what I call the pre-honorable mentions. And, you know, honorable is probably not the best word to describe the things that I'm going to mention, but it's how these lists work, okay? This year, we have endured so much from the Fundies, with everything from shit that we already expected, like Bethy being pregnant again, or Brittany Dawn endorsing ICE, which doesn't surprise me considering Brittany Dawn's husband and ICE are both fake cops.
You kids think of me as essentially a cop, right?
Also this year, WIC benefits were taken away for struggling families, and a lot of Fundies had a lot to say about it, but notably, Steven Anderson of the new IFB, domestic abuser and bigot, called women and their families who receive benefits bastards and whores, which, again, not surprising that he said that, but still downright evil. Also, in 2025, Lawson Bates, was made fun of by the red flag guy, who I just learned about because of this video. He was making fun of a TikTok that Lawson posted where he was nauseous during his own wife's pregnancy. I think she was making fun of him for being a wuss. But anyway, here's the video.
But today that record was broken. The title for World's Biggest Flower now belongs to a gigantic pansy.
And that pansy is you, brother! If you don't get your rear end in that car and take her to the hospital, I'm through the window, by the window.
Hey, I can't. I'm too upset. I'm calling in 3 days grace for professional singing backup.
And yes, that is the actual band 3 Days Grace.
Hit it, fellas.
Toe through the pansies with me.
Lawson proceeded to prove that guy right by being a red flag because he started to fraudulently copyright strike everyone who used that video, including local Fundie snarker, Lily, from the account Fundie Meme Archive. This story does have a happy ending because I helped Lily send a message to the YouTube team because at this point I know the exact wording that it takes to appeal these copyright claims, and the strike was released. So yay, Christmas miracle. And then, in June, everyone's favorite boundary-crossing, overbearing mother and grifter extraordinaire, Jill Rodriguez, blessed us with another gem. And I know, I said I'd never touch the Rodriguez family again, but this is an exception. It's Christmas, after all.
Thought I was out. They pulled me back in.
When she confused Juneteenth with Pride Month.
And when he got to the bank, it was closed. He was like, why is it closed today? Because it's Juneteenth Day. And I said, what is Juneteenth Day? And it's a day in celebration of sin, really, because sodomy in God's sight is sin, and it's a sad day.
When we thought we couldn't handle any more Fundie shenanigans, 20th century Christian cosplayer Kelly Havens went on a camping trip. Nothing strange about that, right? Well, if you know anything about Kelly, she has a lot of intense female friendships, and she actually went on this camping trip with her best gal pal to photograph the beaver moon. Lord, give me the strength to not make fun of this person. And sometimes, you know, somebody can do something that is both surprising and mundane, and that's called the duality of man. What I'm referring to, of course, is Kody Brown. He got a haircut. We have that in common.
And I'm surprised they didn't pull me out because of that hair. I mean, did you see my hair?
The hair, yeah, looks good.
My hair was problematic.
Kody was on Special Forces, and he didn't win, thank Joseph Smith. Nasty water dumped on him for being a creep, which I think we can all appreciate.
You also said he was creepy. So this is what you get for being creepy.
Not surprising this year was when he said on national television that he actually is on a apology tour and he has been reaching out to his kids.
I've reached out to every one of my children and multiple times.
And so his kids called him out. Notably, Leon Brown had this to say. There's a ridiculous video of my father circulating where he says he reaches out to his children. Let me be so fucking clear. I have not heard from that man since my brother killed himself. Kody blatantly blew me off at Garrison's funeral. He is a liar. He is a joke of a father. That's all. Yeah, I think I'm going to need to see that clip of Kody getting the water dumped on him again.
So this is what you get for being creepy.
Then, to wrap up this section, we have a few more clips to go over. Things that I don't think any of us really expected, like Nicki Minaj speaking at the United Nations about the plight of persecuted Christians in Nigeria.
And a sister in Christ, Nicki Minaj.
Today, faith is under attack in way too many places. In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed. Churches have been burned. Families have been torn apart, and entire communities live in fear constantly, simply because of how they pray. Sadly, this problem is not only a growing problem in Nigeria, but also in so many other countries across the world, and it demands urgent action. This isn't about taking sides. This is about standing up in the face of injustice. It's about what I've always stood for my entire career, and I will continue to stand for that. For the rest of my life, I will care if anyone, anywhere, is being persecuted.
I definitely have some thoughts on that, but I don't really have time to fend off the barbs, so we're moving on. And finally, in November, alt-right trans commentator, you heard that right, Blaire White came out as Christian. And I, for one, can't wait to hear from all the usual suspects about their opinion on this.
You ever consider detransitioning so you can be as God intended you to be? So that's an excellent question, and I'm glad you made it because I would have maybe forgot to talk about that. There are people, obviously, when you look at like people who are ex-gay Christians, who the way that they feel compelled to go forward when they find God or meet God is they're living a lifestyle like they're not gay anymore. They used to be gay and they're not. They're refraining from being gay. I've seen a couple of detransitioners who found God and that helped them in that, and then they, detransitioned and all of that. And so all of that is valid. If that's how you feel, called or what you're supposed to do, or that's your life, right? But this is mine. And I have not felt any calling or compulsion to detransition or radically change how I look or any of that, because I realized that, again, to me, the story of Jesus is that he transcended flesh. And what is all of this if not just how I've altered my flesh? It's just external, it's superficial. And if it's about being a man as God intended, y'all know I am the last person to ever deny that that is the way I was born, that I am still male, that I am still, by definition, a man. I don't care. You know what I mean? I've never argued against that. You don't have to feel just because you are someone who has transitioned that you have truly become an opposite sex. This is a false premise made by trans activists again. So I never felt any of those kinds of ways. And if there are Christians out there who feel like me being Christian is fake or somehow, I am not truly saved by God because I am not feeling compelled to detransition, that is absolutely your right to feel that way. Just like it's my right to feel like if I feel ever pulled to that because that's what God tells me to do, and I feel that in my heart and soul, I have no problem obeying. I have no problem doing that. But until I feel that, it is what it is.
I don't really know what would be crazier than that. What's next? Is Jeffree Starr going to read the Bible or something?
John 15:18 says, Jesus' followers should not be surprised if the world hates them, because the world hated Jesus first. The world would love believers if they were a part of it, but because they belong to Jesus and they have been chosen out of the world rejects and opposes them. This opposition is a sign of their connection to Christ. Amen. Are you kidding me right now? Amen. That was so powerful. I need to just go have a second alone.
I don't know if I can take any more this year. Seriously, what the fuck is going on? And this next section is special because it's stories that I felt needed a little bit more context than the other ones, but they weren't quite as shocking as some of the things that we're going to talk about in the top 10. Why not start this off with a bang and talk about the Mormon wives?
Come ye saints and come ye sinners.
Originally premiering in 2024, these gals are household names at this point, and season 3 just premiered in 2025, so they're going on the list for this year, okay? It's my list anyway. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives follows a group of Mormon wives and ex-wives and mothers who make up MomTok, which is a loose conglomeration of women that aren't necessarily friends.
And you're not my friend? From what I heard, I don't want to be your friend. Why are you being so bitchy to me right now, though?
They aren't all necessarily in MomTok at the same time.
I'm gonna start my own MomTok. I'm sorry.
Also, I'm not really sure what MomTok is at this point. Is it an idea? Is it a metaphor? Is it a religion? I don't know. I don't even know who's in MomTok. Is it me? Are you guys in MomTok? Are we in MomTok right now?
He's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward! Are there any other Squidwards I should know about? Meow. I'm out of here.
Now, these women are supposedly friends with each other, although you'd be hard-pressed to actually find some love and support in this group, but I digress. This show is fucking insane.
You're being a bitch. No, I'm not. You are. No, I'm not.
To say that it's been a worldwide phenomenon would be the understatement of the year. Seriously, within the first season, there was a soft swinging scandal, the most Mormon thing I've ever heard in my life. Domestic violence charges filed against MomTok leader Taylor Frankie Paul, Whitney doing her RSV dance, and the Fruity Pebbles incident. It's messy. It's Mormon. It's so hot right now. And truly, I believe that the reason why people are so fascinated with the show, the reason why I'm so fascinated by it, is because it kind of encapsulates everything that I'm obsessed with. Niche American religions, Gen Z, the patriarchy, familial strife, trauma and drama, dirty soda, relational aggression. And I would argue that it's fair to say that these Latter-day Saints have breached containment, with Jen and Whitney being on Dancing with the Stars, Taylor starring as the latest Bachelorette.
Another big one is, like, does he have to be Mormon? And the answer is no, he doesn't. I would be open to dating outside my religion and learning about new religions and trying them. That's something I've always wanted to do.
And not to mention the crossover with Vanderpump Villa. And now Whitney is going to star as Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway. Seriously, these long-haired gals are on everyone's mind. From popularizing dirty soda to airing their dirty laundry, we can't help but be obsessed, thus cementing their spot as the first entry on our honorable mentions list. I'm mostly fucking with you. Or am I?
Obviously, when I saw him, I didn't know that he had less than 24 hours still on this earth.
If you didn't know, JD Vance is the vice president, and he's Trump's least favorite lapdog. And he is famously a Tradcath convert. I know we can't prove it, but why is JD Vance always at the scene of the crime? In April, he paid the late Pope Francis a visit.
I know you've not been feeling great, but it's good to see you in better health. Pray for you every day. God bless you.
Io prego per lei ogni giorno, che Dio la benedica. Grazie, Santo.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter.
And then he straight up just died the next day.
But, you know, I think he saw a lot of people. I think he affected a lot of lives. And I try to just, you know, remember that I was lucky that I got to shake his hand and tell him that I pray for him every day, because I did and I do.
But anyway, now we have the very first American Pope, and he's from Chicago. And he does not like JD Vance or Trump. Next, we have Anna Duggar's dog breeding business. Now, seriously, the jokes write themselves on this one, and this was a story that I had to mention. It's almost as significant as Anna dyeing her hair blonde. I'm just kidding. The dog breeding thing is probably more significant, but we never see her anymore. Though it was really strange to see her popping back up with a, I assume, allegedly, a backyard breeder situation. Now, I'm not going to accuse her of running a puppy mill, because that is a serious accusation, and she might be good at her job. I don't know. She's registered, whatever that entails, but I will say that this logo is definitely AI generated. Our private ranch. What? I've never bought a dog from a breeder. All of mine come from being rehomed, and so I don't really know their origin story. And I say that not to shame anybody, but just to reiterate that I don't know anything about the process or how somebody would vet a business like this. but I have read online that this is a particularly sketchy setup. So this was just strange, right? Like, I'm not saying it's unethical. God knows. I would never accuse Anna Duggar of doing anything unethical. But it's just weird. She pops up out of nowhere with this fucking puppy breeding business. Also, another Josh Duggar related story from this year. He's apparently trying to represent himself in court, and he's trying to overturn his conviction for CSAM.
Josh Duggar, meanwhile, asking a federal judge to overturn his conviction of possessing child sexual assault material. Duggar was convicted by a jury in 2022 and is serving a 12-and-a-half-year prison term. He has already appealed once, but the conviction was affirmed by an appeals court. In a 54-page motion, Duggar accuses investigators of knowingly withholding evidence from his defense team. He also claims testimony during the trial was false or unsubstantiated.
That was a pretty significant thing that happened this year. So, number 3 on our list. Sister Cindy, aka Sister Cindy Schmock, the campus evangelist, is the original Schrodinger's bigot. He's also the originator of the 5 Margaritas meme/song and the creator of the Ho No Mo slut-shaming show.
Place for some good old-fashioned slut-shaming! Why are you at this university? I thought you were here to get a degree. But it looks like a lot of you females are majoring in how to be a piece of ass.
You know, I've thought a lot about Sister Cindy over the years. I've covered her multiple times, and I really want to give a disclaimer that it's not enough to just say, oh, she's being ironic, people love it. Because, like, considering the context of the current political climate, like, even if you're joking about slut-shaming someone, girls are being murdered on college campuses and other places. And it's not really funny when you consider that. Now, Sister Cindy doesn't think she's contributing to that, but, like, we've got these incels out here harming women because of this slut-shaming rhetoric. And so I do want to keep that in mind. Now, I want to be clear. Sister Cindy is a shock preacher. She practices what is called confrontational evangelism, and she has hurt and offended many students. And I'm sure as funny as some of this stuff can be, it's actually very hurtful and traumatizing to have Sister Cindy literally slut-shame you in front of your peers. And unlike actual queer allies, she has a hard time outright affirming homosexuality, and instead relies on a campy gimmick where we can't determine if she's serious or not.
I want to say to the LGBTQ community that Sister Cindy loves you. Jesus died for you, and I love all gay people, just not in a gay way.
Now, earlier this year, Sister Cindy declared herself a gay icon.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a gay icon, if you haven't heard. I had no idea how it happened. Where are my lesbians? Yeah, I don't know how it happened. I faithfully bashed gays for 4 decades, and they fell in love with me, and they made me an icon. And I love the gays back, because the gays have taught us that love is love. Yeah, but lust is lust. Yeah. And I love the lesbians, but not in a lesbian way.
And a few years ago, she said that God didn't make mistakes when it came to trans people.
Sister Cindy, why is the transgender movement so large? I thought it was just a small amount of people. That's the question I've been getting in my inbox a lot. And this is the only thing I can figure out is 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, God messed up and put a lot of babies in the wrong bodies.
I would like to officially add her to the Mount Rushmore of Fundies that I would love to see portrayed on Snatch Game. Unless she actually puts her money where her mouth is, jury's still out for me. But since Sister Cindy continually keeps us on her toes, she has earned her spot as number 2 on our honorable mentions list. Marguerite Perrin actually is a gay icon.
She's not a Christian!
She could be a Jew and believe in
It
God.
doesn't matter. She's tampering in dark-sided stuff.
Marguerite Perrin, aka the God Warrior, is a dance instructor and media personality. And unlike Sister Cindy, Marguerite is not coy about her love of the queer community. Now, I highly recommend that you all watch my video from a few years ago where I discuss Marguerite and her eclectic history.
You got white privilege.
I feel whether you're black, white, yellow, green, it doesn't matter.
So then, if it's not about race, how do you explain the difference between white life and black life?
I never ever thought about it.
Right. You know why you never thought about it?
It doesn't affect me.
Exactly.
I want to give her credit for changing her ways and becoming a bona fide ally to the queer community. Similar to Tammy Faye, Marguerite found solace with the gay community after they took her in during hard times, namely the death of her daughter Ashley. And I don't know who she voted for, but her larger-than-life personality and appearance on Very Delta, a luxury public access podcast, earns Marguerite the top spot in our honorable mentions list.
The gay community has stood behind me and loved me and like brought me through like a real hard time in my life, and I will never forget it. And I hope I make them proud in this next season and what my new projects that's coming up. I don't want to be just like on my tombstone. She's not a Christian, tainted, dark-sided, gargoyles, psychics, and everything's ungodly. I want to be like, I don't know, Marguerite. Just Marguerite.
Yeah. This is, I feel like, what we need right now. There's so much noise going on. Wherever you go, there's politically, socially, social media, like everybody has an opinion, everybody wants something, everybody needs something. And we try to give as much as we can, but we only have so much bandwidth to hang on and understand everything that's happening. And we're all trying. I believe that we are. And I think that, especially in the gay community, there's a lot of pushback when people say anything about being Christian because we've been served that in sort of a negative way, but it's not a negative thing.
I get it.
It's not, being Christian is not negative.
It is not. And I do appearances in WeHo. Every time I come here, it's my go-to place because I'm so loved there. Yeah. And I can be dancing in Revolver with someone and we're dancing, and the next moment they'll say, God Warrior, do you think that when I die that I'm going to be okay? Because my parents never accepted me and they passed away. And they never accepted me. And I was like, it's just like, and then they start crying. It's like, I have moments like, and then I start crying. I have moments like that. And God loves it. We're all God's children. He loves all of us. And it's like, and if you're not accepting to everybody, when you get there, you're not going to get on that cloud that I want to be on up there. And this is where I'm at. And if I don't stand for something, you would fall for anything. And I am not that person. And I literally life was breathed back into me because of the gay community. And just because I live in a red stick state, I walk my own little beat. I love everyone, and I really, truly mean that. And it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with Christianity. It's what I'm supposed to be doing. And God is quite, and the gay community, so they'll come down on me too and say, but are you a Christian? Yes, I'm a Christian. I can believe in Jesus. I can support the gay community. I can listen to Lady Gaga, and I can drink my loaded tea, and I can still be a Christian.
All right. Are you guys ready for the top 10? There is a wide variety of stories that are featured in this list, and just because I list them doesn't mean that I endorse the person or necessarily that I hate them. And I'm not trying to be sensationalist or make light of any of these stories because some of them are very serious, but they were shocking and notable things that happened this year, and I want to talk about them. Let's begin. Starting with number 10. And Morgan are YouTube's favorite Christian influencers. I've done a video about them. Everybody's done a video about them at this point, and I do highly recommend it because I worked really hard on it. And it's probably old news at this point. Pickle Paul, it would be easier to name a Fundie husband who didn't suck, but this is significant. It's Paul's entire personality right now. If you didn't know, Paul Olges has been just about to go pro in pickleball for over a year now. Now, to give Paul, a teeny tiny microscopic amount of credit. He has tried to seek gainful employment, at least part-time, by teaching kids pickleball classes.
The mental side is huge. It's cool because I've been devouring. I made a post about it on Instagram, you guys may have seen, but I played a tournament about 2 months ago, and there was one game in that tournament where I feel like we should have won, but I kind of choked. Like I got very nervous and we lost, and it was for all the kind of for the marbles. I remember afterwards coming home and being like, I need to get my mentals right. I need to get mentally tough. So I've been devouring mental toughness books, and then I went and played a tournament last week, and I felt like I was able to put so many things into practice. I was so focused. Every game I knew, Paul, you can win this. And it just made such a difference. I came back in several games. I ended up taking gold, and I'm just so convinced that, like, you got to be mentally strong. You got to exercise mentally. You got to work mentally, and it's not all just coming out here and physically training.
Now, I'm going to play a few clips to kind of show this journey, and the one I'm going to show you first technically happened last October, but that's kind of when my life fell apart, so excuse me, we're going to talk about it now.
That's 6 years ago. I want to talk about it now.
So this was a vlog where it was supposed to show Paul's day and Morgan's day and kind of how they keep it real. All right. But what ended up happening was it would be Paul showing himself like stretching and working hard and working on his mentals. Then he would juxtapose it with a video of Morgan bawling her eyes out because she's overwhelmed, stressed out, and has zero support from her pickle husband, right? It was shocking to see.
So, like, just forgive me for my poor me mentality right now. I just have been, for the past 3 weeks, taking care of 2 sick babies. Trying to not get sick myself, also getting sick twice in those 3 weeks, and now this is starting to come on also. Sorry for being dramatic. I'm just like, can I just freaking feel okay for like, can my kids and me just feel okay? Paul's been great and fine, which I'm thankful for, because I would suck. But holy crap, it's so frustrating.
And knowing what we know now, that Morgan has been struggling with some major health issues, and she just launched this course about how she's been mentally struggling as well, it just paints a whole other disturbing picture. But don't worry, guys. Paul took the time out of his very busy day to slut shame some random women.
Pulling out of the McDonald's parking lot, I thought I saw a lady in her underwear. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing, guys. I thought I saw a lady standing by a car in her underwear. I was like, what in the world? And it turned out that she just had like almost non-existent shorts. Welcome to 2024 America. Well, guys, this is hitting the spot and replenishing me before I go work out. Thank you, Mickey D's.
Remember, guys, real champs eat at McDonald's. I'm loving it. Can I get the check?
And he even films them having a contentious fight in the car, which, by the way, Morgan's driving.
All right, so the vlog took a pause. It was one of those days. We don't have a ton of these days. I feel like typically what happens is we'll have a day that kind of hits some snags with like the kids. And it's like, all right, we got to just weather this out and it works out okay. But today, around midday, it was stuff with the kids. Morgan started not feeling amazing. And I became super rushed to head to Louisville just being real with you guys, we're still kind of in the midst of it, but we're getting it figured out. Like, I can tell we're on the up and ups, even though it still doesn't feel amazing. We're on our way to dinner. I was really hoping to get my devotions in and get one more thing in. I wasn't able to do either one, and it just kind of stunk. Like, I felt like I really needed that devotion time. Morgan and I, our communication started getting rocky, and just about 20 minutes ago, as we continue our drive, we've been working through the stuff. All that to say, we're about to have an amazing dinner at Morgan's favorite restaurant, so that's a win. 2, I have this new sweater that I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, or how it was going to fit me. I'll see if we can get a little video while we're at the restaurant, because this is a super fun, cool restaurant, but I love the way the sweater fits me, and on top of that, my sweater matches Morgan's pants. So it's an outfit match that we didn't even know was going to happen. Morgan, anything else you want to add in this moment of realness and reconciliation?
Have we reconciled? Not really.
Oh, and there we go. Have we reconciled? Not really. To me, I feel like just talking through this stuff, Morgan, for the last 10 minutes has brought about just at least better understanding one another. And as often communication goes within marriage, you are thinking in one line of like tunnel vision. You have tunnel vision of like, this is the situation, and then the other person shares, and it's like, okay, I at least, even if I disagree with them and I'm still like, I at least see their line of thinking, and it helps paint a bigger, fuller picture. So Morgan, I mean, I know we're gonna get through it. I know that there still is some frustration with the situation, but I'm willing and hopeful that we can go in here and have a great night and things just continue to mend themselves. There hasn't been anything that's been so big that I'm like, oh, the night is just gonna be so rough. Like, we're gonna be fine. I think we're on the ups and ups.
Instead of supporting his wife or being kind to her, he shoves the camera in her face constantly. Do it for the vlog, right?
We all make choices, but that was a choice.
And when people reacted to this vlog with concern, among other feelings, Paul just chalked it up to them being haters. Sorry, we actually care about your wife.
Is it too soon to even try to go there for you?
I just don't really want to be processing this on camera.
Okay.
Knowing that we have a million haters who are going to make stupid videos about this. About us and our marriage, and Morgan sitting here, all blah, blah, blah.
Well,
It's just a lot.
yeah, again, it's hard. It's, some people are going to watch this and probably not get it. Others, I think, are going to watch it and actually have a ton of empathy.
I mean, Morgan is right. They do have a million haters. And yes, I am aware of the irony of the fact that I am actually making one of those stupid videos about this clip, but how could I not? I'm at least trying to come at this from a kind point of view, because I do care about Morgan and I recognize how much this situation sucks, and I wish that her husband hadn't put it online, because how is she supposed to process this stuff with herself or her husband with a camera shoved in her face? But we can't unring this bell, so Paul, take the video down if it's that important. Not necessary to put shameful, dark moments of your life online just for a few views, because they are only a few views. And it's really unfair to Morgan because she relies on you for everything. She relies on you to pay the bills, to put food on the table, and to be her support person. And you're just not living up to that. If you want to be a good husband, if you want to be a godly father, you need to step up. And this pickleball shit is fun as a hobby, but it ain't cute to be wasting your wife's time like this.
Apologize. I was mowing while you were building the swing set, right?
Yes, babe.
For the haters. I was mowing. Pretty sure, right? Right? Wasn't I?
You went and played Pickle Paul.
Surely not.
Yeah. You were like, almost the other night.
That was when I went out and, yeah. I went and, yeah, because I got a text from some of the old friends.
Yeah.
That's what happened, yeah.
Well,
So I didn't mow.
Well, no, and he just left me.
That's right.
But it's fine. I love putting things together. It does not bother me at all.
No, but it's not funny. At the end of the day, is it? It's serious.
This would have been its own entry, but I ran out of spots. So in May, Morgan was working out and she started having horrible pain in her skull, base of her neck. They went to the emergency room. Turns out she had a vascular artery dissection and she could have had a stroke and died. Doctors think that she might have VEDS or vascular Ehlers-Danlos, and it is very serious. I don't want to tell Morgan how to live her life, but when I see clips like this, it does make me question a little bit of what's going on.
She was like Indian, and I'm not going
to say that.
Well, sometimes I like to try to do accents. I'm not going to. It's not the time or place. But she said, ultimately...
Thanks, Paul, for sparing us that, what I assume was going to be an offensive Indian accent.
So I'm like, okay, after 6 weeks, she can get back into... And she just comes up and pretty much point blank says, you're not going to want to lift up your kids anymore.
Or do like heavy weights or any like strenuous workout type stuff.
And so, and my immediate reaction is, okay, like how long before she can pick up her...
Yeah.
Like her baby.
10-month-old baby.
And she goes, and she kind of like reprimanded me and said, that is not a question you should be asking. It could be because even when this heals, it could re-tear because you've had it once. So you shouldn't even be asking that. It's smartest.
She was like, never.
She was
you
pretty
should
much like,
not ever be lifting up your children or heavy things again if you don't want this to happen again.
And I was just like, what just happened?
And we were both, like Paul's over here thinking like, my wife is about to be scarred for life, being told that she could never pick up her children again. And I'm over here like, huh? Like, immediately I was like, first of all, like, who the heck do you think you are telling me I'm never gonna lift my kids again, bro? Like, go away. I'm not listening to anything you have to say.
And also
anymore.
ChatGPT and just looking stuff up on Google, it was like saying, like ease back into it after this certain amount of time. So that was like...
Did he really just say that ChatGPT told him otherwise? Just kind of ignoring the advice that she's getting. And I am worried for her. Because on one Instagram story, she talks about how she lost her hearing temporarily. And that is a huge red flag and something that you need to go to the emergency room for.
So go back, do a CT scan, and it shows that I did dissect an artery back here in my... And then basically they were like, we need to do an MRI to make sure that you've not had a stroke in the past couple of days. They were like, it doesn't seem like you have. You're not showing any signs of that, but we just want to make sure so that we can be, aware. And also just like get a baseline for what this artery now, as it is dissected, what it looks like, so that as we, the treatment plan and everything goes on, we'll know exactly how it looks, so we can watch how it heals and make sure that it is healing and it's not getting worse. And like the biggest concern for this is that I could have a stroke, I guess. So anywho, got an MRI. The MRI looked great. I didn't have a stroke or anything like that, praise the Lord. And then basically the neurosurgeon came. The neurosurgeon came after, or like during my MRI, was talking to my mom, and then was talking to me afterwards and was like, this is really uncommon to happen to people her age and her health. Like, she's a healthy young woman. Like, this shouldn't be happening. And so he was like, we're gonna do some more testing, some further testing, like with my team. And because I think that she might have some sort of I don't even know what it's called, like VEDS, VEDS. I can't pronounce it at all. So I have to do some testing for that at some point in the next couple of weeks, and I have to get another CT scan to make sure that it's healing. I can't pick up my babies for a while. And it's just been my world has just been like flipped upside down in a matter of like seconds. It feels like I have not processed any of this, so like forgive me. I'm still like on really heavy pain drugs, which is like scary, but like I can't function without them right now. And I can't function with them either, so it's frustrating. But I'm thankful for everyone who's stepped up and poured into our family.
She also mentions that their insurance doesn't cover the testing that is required to officially get her a diagnosis and get her help, and I believe it. James and I have shitty-ass marketplace insurance, and they didn't even want to cover his chemo. So I can only imagine that they have bad insurance, or they probably have one of those, like, Christian health sharing things, and I just can't imagine that they would cover something like this. And that's not Paul and Morgan's fault. That's America's fault. But it still sucks because she deserves proper medical care. Even if she's going to ignore the advice of doctors, she should at least be able to hear it. And it's just a scary situation because Morgan is overwhelmed. She's stressed, and she seems to be struggling because now she's putting out this course called Wife in the Wild, which, I don't know, maybe consider renaming that one, where she talks about her struggles in her marriage and how it seems like she's blaming herself for everything that's going wrong. And it just screams of loneliness to me, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a very common thing, and I just want to say my heart goes out to Morgan. Like, just because you have Instagram followers doesn't mean that you can't be isolated. It makes me sad because I do care about Morgan. I didn't really film a transition out of this one into the next one, so let's go to number 9. Before you ask, yes, I am working on a video about the latest season of Plathville. We just finished watching it on Discord. Shout out. I gotta get a bunch of other shit done first. But anyway, there was a fist fight this season, and so we gotta put it on the list, right? In case you don't know who the Plaths are, they are a D-tier Fundie family from Georgia, and most notably, they are from the TLC reality show Welcome to Plathville. I have made plenty of videos about them before on my channel, and if you watch them all in order, you can see A, how much copyrighted footage I used to be able to get away with, and B, just how badly this family has spiraled. This show used to be about the kids are deconstructing and learning to use boundaries with their strict religious parents, and how now it's all about relational aggression, physical aggression, stagnation, and binge drinking. Who said that? Look over there! Now, season 7 premiered in July, and it wrapped up pretty recently, and so I wanted to talk about it today. And first of all, Ethan, the oldest son, despite being one of the people that we all cheered for in the early seasons of the show, has been completely red-pilled and is now a bigoted jerk and a mama's boy again. And in the latest season, he threatens to light his brother-in-law on fire during his proposal to his sister Lydia. He is also extremely chauvinistic in this season. He's constantly throwing temper tantrums, and he is just an all-around unpleasant loser. If you want to know more about that, check out Olivia Plath's social media for videos of him going on bigoted diatribes and threatening violence. But anyway, the main reason that I brought you here today was to discuss the interfamilial fist fight that 2 of the Plath brothers got into. Micah and Isaac Plath got into a fist fight at Sister Lydia's wedding. Now, if you watch the most recent season, reason for the fight was because they were arguing about Micah's now ex-girlfriend, Veronica. And the whole family has like an intervention with Veronica to basically call her out for her bad behavior, even though it's really fucked up that they're like, you're the reason why this fight happened. You guys chose to fight each other. Her being shitty is a separate issue.
Veronica, I was there. The only conversation going on between these two is how he lost respect for him because he's still with you because of what you have done.
Veronica was not the nicest person to Micah throughout the show, but nevertheless, like, it's just ridiculous the hoops they jumped through to get to the conclusion that it was her fault. But it's nice to see the family getting along for once, even if it was just to gang up on someone.
He hit me first. I guess he kind of started it. Mike had just got in his truck and left after I hit him. I didn't really know the extent of what I had done to Micah, but I mean, my lips were busted, so I didn't really care in the moment. We both hit each other, you know, in the face, so it was kind of fair.
Now, the reason why this fight made headlines is that, first of all, they didn't show it on the show. I think the cameras had gone home for the day. But on the next episode, Micah comes home looking like Mankind post Hell in a Cell 1998, with his nose broken and everything. I swear it looks like Isaac tried to bite it off. The Plaths have never been good at emotional regulation, and I'm not saying this is a fact, but the booze has been flowing on that show. And once again, I'm not accusing anyone of being drunk, especially since Isaac is only 20, but it makes you think. Now, ever the social media butterfly, Veronica went online to clear things up and let everyone know that this fight did in fact happen off camera, and it was a bloody, traumatizing mess for everyone. And I haven't seen a Fundie fight this intense since the Bible, so it is number 9 on our list today. Hear me out, okay? I'm not a fan of Amy Duggar, but her press tour alone made this one of the biggest stories of the year. Seriously, every podcast, YouTube channel, news station, and media conglomerate interviewed Amy this year. Plus, she gave us a little bit more insight into the Duggar lore. So we can't deny that she was on our minds in 2025. Amy King, maiden name Duggar, aka Crazy Cousin Amy, a nickname that I'm pretty sure she gave herself, is one of the cousins of the infamous Duggar family, a family that launched 1,000 careers, notably mine. And in 2025, she published a memoir called Holy Disruptor, shattering the shiny facade by getting louder with the truth. And like I said, not an Amy Duggar stan. Don't get it twisted. She literally implies in her book that her bold personality kept her from being sexually assaulted. Huh? But I did read a bunch of forum posts that were like, things you need to know about the book. And so I looked up those things, and here they are. Notably, she says that her grandpa, Jimmy Lee Duggar, which is Jim Bob's dad, was abusive physically and sexually, and that it was an open secret in the family, which resulted in Amy not being allowed to be alone with her grandpa.
What was going on in the house when your mom and your uncle were kids that they felt the need to so highly protect you?
Right. I think that there was a lot of issues with my grandpa, a lot of darkness that he tried to hide for a really long time. I know that he tried to hurt my mom, tried to end her life. I talk about it in the book. I know that my uncle and my mom used to huddle together, is what my mom told me. They used to huddle together and just be really scared in those moments that he would lash out and freak out and yell and cuss and just cause a scene, you know. My grandma was quiet. She kept the peace, but it trickled down. And I show that in Holy Disruptor. It trickles down where my grandpa always had an anger issue. I believe he was a sexual predator. I believe that there were many things wrong with him, and he wanted to hurt anyone that he could. And so my grandma and my mom protected me from literally all of it. And so, yeah, I call them they are my silent shields in the book.
It's interesting because we bring that up. It helps piece together why your uncle wanted so much control. Because it sounds like he had a childhood that was out of control.
Yeah, so I know that my great-grandpa, which would be Jim Bob and Michelle's grandpa, or not Michelle's, my mom, Deanna.
Right.
I know that they had a very alcoholic grandfather. And I don't know. I wish I had all the answers, but I don't. It just shows like the generational lineage of how if If you don't stop it in its tracks, it will continue, and it will go on and on and on and on and on until someone becomes a holy disruptor, stands up to it and says, this is not allowed in my life any longer.
It also tells the story of confronting Josh and how he had a creepy smile afterward. Ugh.
Oh, yeah?
What to do.
Yeah?
Since I've kissed a couple of boys in my lifetime.
You have more than one.
Imagine that, right? Yeah. Okay, so you don't bite her lips.
Anyway, it's coming in at number 8 on our list because of that. Sherry Franke, the eldest daughter of convicted child abuser Ruby Franke, published her own autobiography this year, and she had quite a bit to say about her turbulent upbringing. I still have not read this book fully, but I did watch Jordan and McKay's video going through the whole thing, and I do highly recommend you watch that video because they busted their ass to read it overnight and then upload the videos basically as soon as the book came out, and I really appreciate that. I also interviewed them about the book, so it's great. Just go watch this. In her book, The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom, Sherry talks about what it was like to live under the spotlight, what it was like to lose her mom to Jodi Hildebrandt's cult, and the fight to rescue her siblings from what essentially ended up being torture. Sherry revealed in her book that much of what was portrayed on the 8 Passengers vlogs were fake, that her brother Chad was sent off to a troubled teen wilderness camp, and that Jodi and her mom may have been more than friends.
Do you feel the shift when Jodi came into your family's life?
I could for sure. I could feel the shift. I was like, oh, Jodi, like, you know, I don't like her, but maybe this is one good thing that's come from it, is she's not yelling, she's not hitting us anymore. But it did become more psychological, and in a way that was more damaging to me.
In 2022, Hildebrandt moved into the Franke home. The children's father, Kevin, moved out shortly after.
I certainly got weird vibes from Jodi and Ruby. I don't think it's normal at all that a therapist would move into her client's home. I was moving out to college and I hadn't even left the house yet, and she is in my room and in my bed.
What was that relationship between the two of them?
Ruby tried to be secretive about it, and so I don't know all the details, but just the vibes that I was getting was that something was strange between them.
In the book, Sherry writing about messages between the two she says she found on Ruby's laptop after their arrest. That confirmed for me the truth about the nature of her relationship with Jodi and how it had spilled over into the physical. Ruby expressing her frustration about having to cater to Jodi's needs for physical affection without getting anything in return.
Were they romantically involved with each other?
I never saw anything specific about that.
Do you think they were more than friends?
I'm not sure.
ABC News reached out to Ruby and Hildebrandt for comment, but did not hear back. Both women pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse against the 2 youngest children, but not Sherry, and will serve at least 4 years in prison.
To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you are part of me.
Did you believe that she was apologetic?
I think that she's as sorry as she can be. What she has done is so bad that I don't think her mind allows her to kind of fully comprehend the guilt of all that. And so I think that she probably genuinely believed everything she said. I don't believe it, though.
Sherry is incredibly brave, and she has been working with legislators to try and curb some of the child exploitation going on in mommy vlogging. She is an advocate for abuse survivors and also a gay ally.
Sherry now trying to turn her pain into purpose.
There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger.
Advocating to restrict family vlogging with children too young to consent.
Is there anything that you would say to Ruby if you had the chance?
Probably tell her I'm happy without you. I was scared of her for so long, and I am pure without her approval, and I am just fine.
Have you forgiven Ruby?
Forgiveness is something I've had to study a lot and kind of think about what it means. But for me, forgiveness would look like not letting that consume every moment of my life and all of my thoughts. I am just trying to move on with my life and trust that things are going to work out the way they're supposed to.
For being so iconic, she lands at number 7 on our top 10 list. First of all, there is nothing funny about this next entry. This is actually fucking terrifying. And my heart goes out to Erin Paine. Best of luck, and good wishes and good health to her. Erin Paine is one of the eldest daughters in the Bates family, aka the Duggars from Tennessee that didn't quite make it big. They also have 19 kids, and Gil Bates is still high up at IBLP to this day, along with a few of his children and in-laws. Her brother is Lawson Bates, the January 6th horse modeling enthusiast, copyright striking, failed country musician, red flag guy from earlier. And her father-in-law, Stephen Paine, I don't know if he still works for IVLP, but he also has a very shitty track record. Erin Paine is known for her musical talent and pageant queen bouffant. I'm not trying to make light of her story. In fact, I think it's very serious, and I want to talk about it with the respect it deserves. It's very upsetting and shocking. Erin almost left us, and it was scary. She had all of us on edge, and I do feel sympathy for her family. Earlier this year, Erin had multiple infections post giving birth to her 7th child, and she went into septic shock and had seizures, resulting in her being in the ICU for several weeks.
The reality star is currently in critical condition in the ICU 1 week after giving birth to her and her husband, Chad Payne's 7th child, Henry. Alongside 2 black and white photos of Erin in a hospital bed, her husband writes in a September 1st Instagram post, "We had asked for prayer for recovery for Erin due to complications. Labor was longer and more intense than previous births. She has been fighting through it and has been such a light and sweet testimony of grace to nurses, staff, and doctors alike. We are all moved by her kindness and gratefulness in the midst of pain." Chad continues, Erin developed a severe UTI and kidney infection which sent her into septic shock. She's currently still in the ICU as doctors continue to treat, diagnose, and search for answers. "We would covet your prayers for this beautiful girl who is such a light in a dark world. We are holding on to God's promises." He notes that the couple's newborn son is doing well in the NICU, writing, "He is our bundle of happiness."
The seriousness of the situation shows just how dangerous and scary pregnancy and childbirth can be. Now, as of October, she seems to be back home and healing well. She's even making inspirational videos and selling prayer cards and beef tallow moisturizer. So that's how you know she's back. This entry features 2 colorful characters. On one side, we've got our current possibly being impeached, fingers crossed, former Fox News hosting, sex offending, binge drinking, binge drinking, classified information leaking, boat bombing, Christo-fascist war criminal Pete Hegseth, and your favorite Christian nationalist's favorite Christian nationalist, Doug Wilson. Because of these 2 crusty old white men, we're about to start living in the United States of Jesus. These 2, plus the Brain Trust over at Canon Plus and the CREC, make up truly the world's scariest blunt rotation. What do you want down? Okay, goodbye.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
Now we're standing on the shoulders of a generation later, the Doug Wilsons and the others.
So who is Doug Wilson, you ask? Well, short of showing you my 2-hour-long video, I'll try to summarize as best as I can. Doug Wilson is the pastor at Christ Kirk in Moscow, Idaho, founder of Canon Press and the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches, as well as a pioneer of classical Christian education with his Logos school system and New St. Andrews College. Doug is notorious for many things, but mainly his abhorrent, bigoted, and regressive views.
How would a Muslim or a Mormon or even a Catholic fit into your version of a Christian nation?
Yeah. So one of the reasons we have such problems with assimilating Muslims and all these different Hindus is that there are so many of them, right? So if we had a Christian republic and a Muslim came to Disneyland with his family, we have no problems. But when they fill up Dearborn, Michigan, that's just not, it says in Amos 3:3, can 2 walk together except they be agreed? You cannot put alien worldviews together, cheek by jowl, and have peace, right? So basically, I think a lot of the religious turmoil that we have, the clashes that we would have, could be addressed by a sane immigration policy, not a policy that tries to regulate what people can say or do in their religious convictions while here.
So the foundation for you is you believe this is a Christian nation,
right,
despite the debate from historic scholars.
Exactly. But notice that when the Muslim says to me, who are you to say? I can say, all right, we have to live together. Who are you to say which way it should go? And then the secularist comes in and says, let's do it this way. And Muslim and I would both turn to him and say, and who are you to say?
So you feel like we can't have a functioning society?
Yeah, we can't.
Without
And look at our society currently, not functioning.
America and the America you want to be living in, where homosexuals are punished.
I think that
because they've decided that they're, they want to live freely as a gay person.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, but that
Punished how?
When I first began ministering, well, just so you understand how the Overton window has moved. When I first began ministering as a Christian minister, I was grown, an adult, and preaching the gospel. Sodomy was a felony in all 50 states. All 50. Now I didn't begin.
And the Supreme Court, I know, stepped in and overturned that because of
no, my point, yeah.
There was the Lawrence ruling.
Correct.
And the Supreme Court said that.
Yeah, the whole thing, we are where we are now. My point is that when I began ministering in 1977, in the late 70s and early 80s, and sodomy was a felony in all 50 states, that America of that day was not a totalitarian hellhole.
So you would like America to go back to that?
Yep.
And wrote a book about how slavery wasn't that bad. He routinely defends and exonerates pedophiles, and he wants to make homosexuality a crime.
Still believe what you said back in the 90s, that there's a mutual affection between master and slave?
Yeah. Well, yes. It depends on which master and which slave you're talking about. Slavery was overseen and conducted by fallen human beings, and there were horrendous abuses, and there were also people who owned slaves who were decent human beings and didn't mistreat them.
Anyway, she keeps meowing at me, and then I pick her up, and then she doesn't want to be up here, so I don't really know what's going on.
Ask her why she tries to scratch me when I pet her. Does she hate me? I do everything for her.
Doug Wilson has been lurking in the background of fundamentalism / Christian nationalism for decades now, but he really popped off, so to speak, this summer when he opened a Christchurch location a few blocks away from the Capitol in Washington, D.C.
I mean, just a few blocks away from the Capitol, right off the street, had a couple protesters outside. So
that's always a nice touch.
That was exciting. Yeah, Christchurch
must be doing something right.
Yeah, Christchurch is not welcome here.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, we're not really welcome where we're from either. So it's like,
that's why we came here.
Doug is also known for his friendship and influence over current Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Although Doug Wilson tends to name drop Pete more than the other way around, so I wonder what that means.
And you have said, I don't have a direct pipeline to Pete Hegseth.
Right.
But don't you think your influence is having an impact now?
I hope so. I write books, and I don't write and publish books to launch them into the void. I want people to read them and be influenced by them. Mm-hmm. And when people read them and are influenced by them, and they're in a position to actually do something, it's gratifying. I'm happy about that.
However, Pete Hegseth did co-write a book with the head of the Association of Classical Christian Schools. He also attends a CREC church, and he moved his entire family to Tennessee so that his kids could attend one of these schools.
If your kids got accepted to Harvard, would you be encouraging your kids to go to Harvard? What would you do?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Absolutely not. I've got a list. It's about 5 schools long of schools that I, as a father, would be willing to spend my own money if they would like to attend.
Are you comfortable sharing those?
Because a few of them. Liberty University, College of the Ozarks. It's down in Missouri. I love New St. Andrews College. It's in Idaho.
Because this Wilson-Hegseth ship concerns me so much, it's coming in as one of the top entries on our list. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the U.S. representative for Georgia's 14th congressional district since 2021, is a far-right conspiracy theorist, a bigot, and a self-proclaimed Christian nationalist. She made headlines recently because she is parting ways with MAGA and plans to resign in January of 2026.
Though on Saturday, Trump started testing out a new nickname for her, calling her Marjorie Taylor Brown, because green grass turns brown when it begins to rot, is what he tweeted. And then today on CNN, Greene fired back in the form of an apologetic answer to host Dana Bash.
But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism, and I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country, and it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions, and I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
This story was quite the shocker. Marjorie went from being one of Trump's fiercest and most loyal attack dogs in the MAGA movement to straight up disavowing him. Some are speculating this is due to the way that Trump is acting surrounding the release of the Epstein Files, and Marjorie and Lauren Boebert actually worked it out on the remix to be a part of a coalition of dissenting Republican voters that advocated for a vote to release the Epstein Files in November.
The Epstein Files, and he was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. I fully believe that those women deserve everything they're asking. They're asking for all of it to come out. They deserve it. And he was furious with me.
What did he say?
He said that it was going to hurt people.
Well, Greene also said that she blames the president for violent threats against her family and that he has abandoned promises he made to focus on domestic issues over foreign policy.
Scenes. Do they talk differently?
Yes.
How?
Oh, it would shock people.
Well, let's shock people.
Okay. I watched many of my colleagues go from making fun of him, making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Leslie, kissing his ass and decided to put on a MAGA hat for the first time.
Now, I am not a fan of Marjorie, even after all of this, and I do believe that she is still a bigoted fascist, and she advocates for the persecution of queer people and other minorities.
My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas, just sit. They all sit collecting dust.
But this was significant, and for that, she has gained her spot on our list. I guess it's more like Fundie's defending Trump's appearance in the Epstein Files, but tomato, tomato.
Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffree Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffree Epstein. Jeffree Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffree Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep.
Throughout 2025, we have heard a lot about the so-called Epstein Files, a collection of evidence, correspondence, videos, letters, etc. between Jeffree Epstein, a now dead billionaire and prolific sex trafficker, and, his alleged friendships and collaborations with a lot of politicians and religious leaders that we all know. And at this point, we know for a fact that Epstein and Trump were friends. And allegedly, some of the trafficking may have been directed through Mar-a-Lago. Many right-wingers and fundies this year have gone out of their way to defend Trump and say that we should either not release the files or redact all the important shit. And it's been very frustrating for survivors and victims of sexual assault, or anyone with a conscience, really.
This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked
15-year-old girls. I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10, I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. You know, it's just whatever. It's sick. Every time we start talking about Epstein, it makes your skin crawl, right? The whole thing is just disgusting.
Totally.
What in the hell? You got to be under 10 to be preyed upon by a grown man? No, that's not the definition at all.
That was Megyn Kelly. You may recognize her from her interview where she glazed the Duggars about their son sexually abusing his own siblings. And we found out via Jill Duggar's book that Josh was literally in the room when that happened and was sort of supervising the interview, just a few feet away from the cameras. It's disgusting behavior from everyone involved, and shame on the family for pressuring their daughters to defend their piece of shit brother. I mean, I think she was fired from Fox News recently, but now she's got her own show. And she was trying to, actually, the president and Epstein by saying, well, he's not technically a pedophile. He likes teenage girls. What the fuck? And it gets even worse than that because Allie Beth Stuckey, love Stuckey, she went on Twitter to say, I'm sorry, but trying to use that clip to argue that Megyn Kelly is somehow pro Jeffree Epstein is absurd. Of course, pedophilia and predation are vile and condemnable and illegal in every case. I did not hear her dispute that. Yet, why are you up Trump's ass? That's my question.
You may have seen some pictures going around where it looks like they're at the same party or they're hanging out or they're posing for a picture together. And while, of course, that's not a good look, no one wants to be in a picture with him or Harvey Weinstein or anyone that is obviously sketchy. However, Jeffree Epstein hung out with a lot of really important people, a lot of really rich people. I mean, he was in those circles. That does not mean that they were all his clients or that they all went to his private island or that they had any kind of serious ties. So it's not evidence enough to say, they were at the same party or even that they were friends for a period of time. Jeffree Epstein was friends with every rich and powerful person at the time and probably had all different levels of friendships and relationships with them. In June 2024, Fox News' Rachel Campos Duffy asked Trump if he would declassify the Epstein files along with the JFK and MLK assassination files during an interview. He said that he would. In September 2024, Trump reiterated his willingness to do this in a podcast with Lex Freeman. However, a couple months ago, July 2025, he kind of reversed course after the DOJ and the FBI released a memo stating that a thorough review of Jeffree Epstein's files found no evidence of incriminating client lists or blackmail involving prominent individuals. And Trump said this is pretty boring stuff. Here's what he had to say. SOT 3.
Are you still talking about Jeffree Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. It just seems like a desecration.
All right. So obviously people had a reaction to what Trump said. So let me give you my take on all of this. The truth is, we could spend weeks of episodes talking about Epstein, talking about all of his connections, all of the theories, some very legitimate, some probably less legitimate, surrounding him, the true circumstances surrounding his death, the layers of cover-up and sexual exploitation and institutional corruption that this story involves. And I'm sure we will be talking more about this in coming years. We should. The reason that I had not gone in depth on this yet is because I was waiting for the pieces to come together. A few years ago, I felt the same way about the whole Russian collusion hoax story. There were so many pieces, so many layers. I wanted to have as much as possible before doing my own deep dive into what was true and what wasn't. But the frustrating thing with this story, with this Epstein story, is that it looks like we're never going to get to the bottom of it. Now, I'm not being pessimistic here, that's just how it feels right now. It feels to many Republican voters like kabuki theater, like political posturing. So many people voted for Donald Trump because they saw him as the enemy of political corruption, the outsider who had his own bone to pick, rightfully so, with the Washington establishment. I mean, they tried to impeach him multiple times. They tried to imprison him. They indirectly, I would say, stoked the anger that led to his assassination attempt. They did everything they possibly could to sabotage him. So I think a lot of people saw, okay, he is going to represent our own frustrations with their corruption and trying to subvert the will of the people.
Yeah, we know that Epstein was friends with all kinds of people, including Democrats and religious leaders. I want their asses investigated too. So why are we acting like Trump is a fucking hero? Oh, well, he's not perfect. The dude isn't even close to good or decent, let alone perfect. Jesus Christ, is it really a stretch to believe that the grab him by the pussy guy wasn't a fucking creep? Didn't he write a weird-ass letter to Epstein on his birthday? And what about this drawing that literally depicts Epstein grooming young girls for sexual favors at this island? And oh, what's that in the background? A crayon drawing of Mar-a-Lago. Isn't this the same group of people that were trying to convince us that Tim Ballard was saving children from trafficking, only to find out that he was a perp himself? Or was it the Democrats running a pedophile ring? Maybe I'm thinking of Pizzagate. It's almost like they do this constantly, but when Trump might be implicated in one of the biggest sexual abuse cover-ups of all time, they suddenly act like they don't know what we're talking about.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I actually went through the files this weekend in depth. Donald Trump is not only named over and over in them, it is discussed this trial in which he was accused of raping a 13-year-old at Epstein's house. There is extensive discussions about a subpoena of Donald Trump in one of Jeffree Epstein's cases in which he was accused for rape and sexual abuse. He was subpoenaed and gave a deposition in that case. There is extensive discussion between Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Mr. Wolf about not only Trump coming to his house, but Epstein says in these emails that he has photographs of Trump with girls. And I really want to emphasize this. People know this email that came forward last week where Trump says to Ghislaine Maxwell, Trump is the only dog that hasn't barked. And when you look at the emails, what he's talking about is the fact that one of the accusers, one of the survivors who went to the police and gave sworn statements, and it's in those records that were released over the weekend, was actively recruited from Mar-a-Lago. And what Jeffree Epstein is saying in that email is that Donald Trump hasn't barked, and he knew that Ghislaine Maxwell was going to Mar-a-Lago to recruit 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, who were then taken to Jeffree Epstein's mansion where they were raped, groomed, and turned into, essentially, I don't even want to use the language. They were abused for years. Mm-hmm. And so Donald Trump not only was friends with Jeffree Epstein, he knew exactly what was going on. And Mar-a-Lago, his own property, is where children were being taken from which they were trafficked and raped.
For how shocking and egregious and vile this entry is, it's number 3. So it turns out Michael Tait, one of the biggest names in contemporary Christian music, was found out to be a alleged serial sex abuser for decades, and many people in the industry knew.
The former lead singer of the Newsboys is responding to allegations of sexual and drug abuse. Michael Tait released a confession online. He admitted in it to abusing both cocaine and alcohol while also confessing to touching other men in unwanted ways. He says he's ashamed of his life's choices and that he can't make any excuses for those. Tait says he left the band back in January to get help.
Tait, the former frontman of Newsboys and DC Talk, has had quite the year, with several bombshell reports coming out about his abusive actions during his career. Many survivors have come forward claiming that he drugged and raped them while on tour and at home as well. Then we find out that he has a secret DUI, an addiction to cocaine, and he's been fired from the Newsboys. Not that the Newsboys handled this transition very well either.
And as a result of all this and the things that have come out that he's done, that he's confessed to, we've been dropped from our record label. We've had radio stations pull our music. And we've been canceled by promoters and venues all over the world, but not tonight.
And not only were there testimonies from people who had been assaulted by Tait, but there is hotel surveillance footage of one of the alleged assaults, which I did watch and can confirm it is extremely fucked up. It's truly disgusting and such a shocking fall from grace from a former beloved member of the CCM community, with many CCM artists corroborating these stories and discussing their feelings of disgust and betrayal over Tait's actions this year. Congrats, Tait. At least you're number 2 on our list. Merry fucking Christmas. We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. We're all familiar with Charlie Kirk, the co-founder of Turning Point USA and all-around great communicator. Do you know his widow, Erika Kirk? Now, I didn't even know that he was Christian until this year. I certainly didn't know he was married.
I didn't know you had a wife.
And my wife doesn't know I have a job. I keep my personal and professional life separate.
I'm pretty sure most people, including myself, only knew him from the Toilet Paper USA memes where they Photoshop his forehead really big. By now, we all know how his story ended, and we're not going to show that footage because at this point it's been seen more times than the Zapruder film.
Dude, check the news. It doesn't matter what channel.
I want to talk about his wife, Erika Kirk. Turns out she's a former pageant queen and reality TV star. I'm using the term star here very loosely. As well as Bible in 365, which I assume is one of those courses that helps you read the Bible in a year, something that you can find online for free. But I'm going to be honest, guys, this Bible in 365 seems to really just be a vehicle for Erika Kirk to sell ugly merch, like a baby blanket that's just a regular blanket with a small Bible patch, glass straws, I don't know, seems kind of woke to me, and beanies and bags and things like that. And of course, she has a podcast called Midweek Rise Up, and following her husband's death, she is now the chairwoman of Turning Point USA. Last entry for that podcast was on September 8th. She also supposedly runs a nonprofit, which I could not find any proof of, so we're not going to include that. After Charlie was shot, Erika went on a grief-stricken press tour, and, you know, I'm not judging her for how she's grieving. God knows if something ever happened to James, I would be distraught. But a lot of people have pointed out she's acting a little sus. I don't know. It's an interesting way of going about things. Also, what the fuck is this picture? I would ask if she needs someone to call for help, but, you know, the problem's been taken care of, so to speak.
The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it.
That's why Erika's number 1 on our list, because of this little stunt. Well, I guess there's been a lot of little stunts like that. My entire feed on Reels, which, to be fair, pretty much all of Reels and the metaverse is conservative, has been nothing but trad wives talking about rising up and, like, becoming an army of Erika Kirks to, like, raise lions against the sheeple children and the liberals, and I don't know. She's really emboldened and empowered these women to, like, I don't know, do hate crimes. I'm not sure. Who said that?
If the moment had come, he probably would have run for president, but not out of ambition. He would only have done it if that was something that he believed that his country needed from a servant's heart standpoint. And Charlie lived only 31 short years. No, he's 32, but on this side of heaven, but he lived. He lived every single second he lived. He filled every single day with purpose, and he fought for truth when it was unpopular. And he stood for God when it was costly, but that's what we're called to do. Surprisingly enough, he did pray for his enemies, which is very hard, but he did. He did. He did. No one else, I mean, I saw him do it. No, he never did it in front of anyone else, but I can attest to that. But he also loved people when it was inconvenient.
But it really cannot be stated enough how significant she has been for that movement.
I said, baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget.
Okay, what was that?
What was that? Okay, James.
Oh, and I almost forgot. Upcoming next year, she plans to host an all-American halftime show featuring Kid Rock to protest the fact that Bad Bunny is going to be performing at the Super Bowl. Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican, by the way, which is an American territory. I don't think that they can grasp why that's significant.
Puerto Rican superstar hosting less than a week after being announced as Super Bowl 60's halftime show performer. His selection proving controversial.
I would take Roseanne singing the national anthem again over this guy.
Earlier this year, the 31-year-old announcing he would not be including the U.S. in his latest tour out of fear that the shows would be subject to ICE raids. Some conservatives calling the musician un-American.
It's so shameful that they've decided to pick somebody who just seems to hate America so much.
We have a cross-dresser who doesn't speak English doing the halftime show.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem also weighing in, saying ICE will have a presence at the big game.
So yeah, we'll be all over that place. People should not be coming to the Super Bowl unless they're law-abiding Americans who love this country.
But on Saturday, Bad Bunny poking fun at the controversy.
And I think everyone is happy about it. Even Fox News.
Bad Bunny is my favorite musician, and he should be the next president.
And addressing the audience in Spanish.
Nadie nunca la podrá sacar ni borrar. And if you didn't understand what I just said, you have 4 months to learn.
Well, a White House spokesperson claimed they had not watched the episode, saying, quote, I have more entertaining things to do, like watch paint dry.
And it seems a little racist to me, but hey, she's just living up to her late husband's legacy.
Right now, there's a lot of controversy over the next Super Bowl halftime performance. The NFL named Bad Bunny as the next headliner. The Puerto Rican artist is one of the most streamed artists in the world right now, and his streaming numbers have gone up 26% since the NFL's announcement. But in response, Turning Point USA, this conservative organization co-founded by Charlie Kirk, announcing it will host their own all-American halftime show. So the group has an online poll right now asking people what kind of artist they want instead. One of the choices even says anything in English. So it's expected to happen at the same time as the halftime show. No word yet on who will perform or where it'll take place.
And that's not the only thing that made us roll our eyes at Erika this year. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that hug.
No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight, because he understands the fight that we're up against, and he can articulate that in a way that transcends race, that transcends demographic backgrounds. He's an amazing man. So please help me welcome to the stage Vice President JD Vance.
I am honored to introduce a friend of mine, somebody that I have just been so thrilled to see ascend American politics. His story is uniquely American. Growing up in poverty, difficult his country honorably and heroically in the United States Marine Corps, being an America First champion in Congress, and somebody who I know will bring this vision to make America great again. Join me in welcoming J.D. Vance, everybody.
Who doesn't love a strong embrace from a widow wearing hot pants? Erika, I get it. You're just trying to compliment JD Vance, but damn, why did you have to say it like that?
I'll never forget the time where someone told him, I appreciate what you're saying. I just don't really like how you're saying it. I don't like your delivery. And I think you could reach more people if you changed that. And with his smirk, he would say, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. It's not how I'm saying it that's upsetting people. It's the fact that I'm saying the truth that's upsetting people. That's what he would say. And he would say the reason why they're upset is because the truth is convicting them. And they know it, and that's what the truth does. It convicts you, it changes you. And he knew that. And that's why he always spoke the way he did. He wasn't afraid to say the truth, to defend the truth, to lean into it, to not follow the crowd. He was a leader of it. He never fled from the spiritual battle that's ahead, and we all know it. We all feel the spiritual warfare. This whole room feels it. This whole nation feels the spiritual warfare. But Charlie would say that's how you know you're over the mark, when you feel it, when the enemy is there. That's how you know you're doing the Lord's work. And that's how you know you're defending truth.
I'm kind of obsessed with her. Like, if she wasn't evangelical, I would say she should join the Mormon Wives, because she is everything that the right is looking for. She's like the perfect feminine trad wife. She's trying to usher in a theocracy. Erika, you really did the damn thing. And that's why you're number one on our list of the most fucked up things that happened in Christianity in 2025. I'm glad this godforsaken year is over. It's been a hard one, and it's only been literally this is the first year of Trump's second administration, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of hope for you. I have hope in humanity. I have hope in the Jennonites. I know you guys will do the right thing. I know you've been really good to us this year. In all seriousness, it has been hard. I'm really proud of the work that I've done this year, but also, like, I haven't been putting out very much. It's just been hard. I've been getting a little vulnerable here. I've been very depressed and having mental health issues, and one of the only things that can pull me out of that hole is talking to you guys. You guys have been just amazing and wonderful and lovely, and because of you all, I have this incredible community to lean on, and I love watching you all interact and the things that you suggest, and you're just so funny and strong and smart, and I don't know, it just makes me really happy. I the first thing I do every morning is check the Discord. Like, I just love hearing from you guys, and I just am so proud of this community, and I really think it's one of the best, most wholesome, interesting, cool places online, and I just can't believe that I get to live this life and that I get to have this channel and do such cool, amazing things. And I don't know, it just fills me with joy. And I feel like I have been slacking this year and haven't covered a lot of topical things as they roll in, and so I felt like this video would be a good way to kind of make up for that and talk about some of the major news stories that I had missed. And I'm gonna try next year to like keep a Google Doc of each month, maybe each week, and like write down like the major news stories and maybe keep up with them, or like, no promises, but I just can't state enough how much I love you guys and care about you, and I'm so proud of you. And I think we raised a couple thousand for Feeding America with the Doug Wilson video. And I love to do more stuff like that. Of course, I'd love to stream and do different projects, but I've got a lot coming up in January, and I don't know. It's going to be a weird year. We'll talk about it more in James's episode, but he's going to be working on some other things, and so you won't see him as much on the channel. And it's just been quite a year of change and transition, and trying to get used to it, but I know I'll be okay because I have you guys. And so I just wanted to say thank you for everything, and thank you for making this year tolerable, and thank you so much for the well wishes and the outpouring of love and support, like the things that you guys did for us, especially when James was sick. It's so special and meaningful, and I just felt overwhelmed with love and you guys. And so thank you for everything. And if you want to support us financially, we have Patreon and YouTube memberships. They do the exact same thing. YouTube, you get like special emojis in the chat, but everything gets access to the Discord, merch discount, access to exclusive videos, all that good stuff. We keep it cheap so that it's not, try not to make it a burden, but also no pressure. Again, you don't have to buy anything that we advertise on the channel. If you want to support us just emotionally, just leave a nice comment and like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Just do your best. We're coming into seasonal depression part of the year, so stay strong, and I'll try to upload some videos, maybe make you smile a little bit, but it has just been a fucking wild, crazy year, and I look forward to next year and making precious memories with you all and going through this new season of life. And be on the lookout for some upcoming adventures. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up, but we might be traveling and visiting friends of the channel soon, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, James is working on his episode about Pete Hegseth, and I'm really excited about that one because it sounds fucking crazy. I'm excited. And once again, just thank you guys, and take care. Try your best. Be yourself. Be kind. Love you. Bye-bye.